Welcome to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast, your guide to future tech trends and innovation in a language you understand. Now, over to your host, Neil Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast, and a big hello to somebody in the US who left a review on the US iTunes store who has a username of Bob the Sexy Amazing Builder. I don't know who you are, Bill, but a big thank you for saying he enjoys listening to the episodes. Great topics on startups, innovative tech topics, AI, emerging tech across industries. One of the best tech podcasts, and I listen to them all. Informative on tech topics, startups, and fun. I suspect that Bob's not your real name, but if you are in the US and you've got an iTunes username of Bob the Sexy Amazing Builder and you listen to this podcast every day, a big thank you for taking the time to leave a rating and review. And remember, if you're listening to me today on a smartphone, I want you to look down just for a moment and give a quick rating and review, and I'll read them out on this podcast. As for today's show, well, I wanted to catch up with my friends at CloudShare, and regular listeners might remember that I spoke with CEO and founder Zvi Guterman back on episode, I think it was 589, so quite some time ago, and he shared the story behind the company. And CloudShare is a cloud computing company dedicated to bringing real-life value to both businesses and IT professionals, and they pride themselves on making it simple and intuitive for you to enjoy elastic scalability, infinite reach, and increased productivity through the cloud, but without worrying about all the details. So today, I want to talk to CloudShare's VP of Product. We're going to talk about how in overcrowded marketplaces, organizations must boost sales funnels efficiencies and drive higher conversion rates to ensure that they don't lose out to their competitors. And she's also going to expand on how organisations can better manage those sales funnels and align internal teams, along with onboarding of prospects and a roadmap of a successful customer journey, and showcasing prospects and customers the value of your software. So buckle up and hold on tight so I can beam your ears all the way to Tel Aviv so we can speak with Michal Frenkel, who's going to talk all about this and also reveal a little bit more about how CloudShare recently extended virtual IT lab solutions to the Google Cloud. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little more about who you are and what you do?
Oh, yeah. Hi, Neil. Thanks for having me here. My name is Michal, and I'm head of product here at CloudShare. I have a bachelor's degree and master's degree in computer science, and then initially I developed code. Later on, I found my passion in designing products, and that's what I've been doing ever since for the past 10 years or so.
I think it was a few months ago, I spoke to CEO and the founder of CloudShare, Zvi Guterman, back on episode 589, who came on and shared the story behind CloudShare. But for anyone that missed that episode, because we have done 400 since, can you offer a reminder of the kind of problems that you're solving for your customers at CloudShare?
Oh, sure. So CloudShare basically offers turnkey solutions to easily build virtual labs. Way back then, 10 years ago, when the company was founded, it was very hard to find those kinds of solutions where you can easily build these labs. And therefore, our initial customers use CloudShare mainly for QA, sandboxing, testing, scenarios like that. And over the years, we then added additional specialized solutions, mainly IT training and sales enablement solutions to better handle demos, POCs, scenarios of that sort. We also handle security scenarios, security testing, cyber ranges, integration testing. And from time to time, we also help support groups, mainly when there are complex scenarios that they need to reproduce and solve, and they can't really replicate them easily on their own labs. So they come to CloudShare, and we help them out.
And I must admit, it seems that since I last spoke to the guys at CloudShare, it feels now like we're living in a world of overcrowded marketplaces. So are you finding that B2B buyers are very different now? Is that something that you're seeing?
Oh, yeah, of course. We see the marketplace really, really packed. We see a lot of software products, and in many cases, the differences between the solutions is very subtle. And that leads to two opposite trends that we definitely see. So the first one is we see longer sales cycles. The time from initial hand-raising to final decision is much, much longer than we've seen in the past. We see more research and discussion in parallel with many vendors, and that leads prospects to spend much more time and manpower and energy on the process. Now, a second trend that we see in contrast is that we see prospects who make really hasty decisions, and they don't really understand in depth the total product functionality that each of the vendors is offering, and then they just go ahead and make a decision without being informed with all the details. Now, adding to the mix and to the complexity, there's also the fact that buyers are now more knowledgeable. They make research by themselves, and they research online before even raising their hand for the first time on the website. And that means they leave you very little wiggle room, little room for influence, significantly less than we've seen in the past, which makes the dialogue, of course, more complex.
And we will have leaders listening all over the world. So another question I'd love to ask is, how can organizations better manage that sales funnel and align internal teams better?
So first, make sure you create processes. Set initial flow with guidelines across the organization. Since each organization is different, make sure to set processes that are right for you. And secondly, make sure that there's a close handshake between the different groups in the organization. Now, one handshake I'd like to mention is a crucial one between marketing and sales. Marketing provides the best combination of tools and information possible, and then sales must continue and strengthen the dialogue with the prospect. And also, nowadays, sales being a main channel in the process and in the purchase is not the only channel. You have to have supporting tools and supporting teams, like sales engineers, for example. And the handshake there between sales and sales engineers is crucial, and it has to work flawlessly. And last but not least, also consider using and making sure you use the right tools. You have to have dashboards and reports in place that clearly show summary data, trends. So make sure you see the overall picture all the time and not just the details, the day-to-day details.
And presumably, are onboard prospects and also a roadmap of a successful customer journey, are they important too?
Oh, of course. We found out that customers who are onboarded successfully have a greater chance of using more functionality, using more features, and even having a much higher renewal rate. So first, onboard stage, critical. What I suggest to do during the onboard stage is the following. First, identify key users in the organization. Second, then identify their role and the tasks that they need to perform using your software. Then 3, most important, make sure that the users are trained accordingly. Provide tailored training, not just general type. And by all means, whenever possible, help customers with the initial setup and content building. It gets them running faster and they're not discouraged and they start using and see the benefit in your product. And to the second part of your question, Neil, the customer roadmap is critical. It's really important to find ways to make your customers more efficient and successful. Now, make sure to train and retrain your users. That will optimize the knowledge of the existing users and also the knowledge of new users that are constantly joining the organization. Then, all through the customer lifecycle, identify points of drop in usage and ask yourself why. The sooner identified, the better. And last but not least, make sure to establish personal relationships. Plan together with the customer how to grow. Maybe it's using more functionality, handling additional use cases, or just expanding to additional departments. Now, what I recently read, and I want you to keep it in mind as well, the New York Times just published that companies actually say that 65% of their new business today come from referrals. So, personal relationships, important.
And something I always try and do on this Daily Tech podcast is try and give the listeners something valuable to take away. So if we don't have any software vendors or tech leaders listening, how, in your opinion, how can businesses better showcase prospects and customers the actual value of their software?
So first, Demo. Fantastic tool. A demo should always be the first step. And the important thing to keep in mind, make it tailored to the prospect needs, use cases, pain points that they've raised earlier in meetings. Don't make it general. Make it really tailored to their needs. Speak to them. Then second step, critical, proof of concept. The POC stage is where your prospects can really try the product themselves and get a feel of it. Now, in the old days, the software was, you had to ship it, you had to install it on customer sites, and in many cases, it was really time-consuming, cumbersome. Customers didn't really, know how to use it. You had to sit on site, instruct them, whatnot. Now, in these days, the good thing is that we have virtual labs, which means that, first of all, it's an easier process, and you can hand out many copies as you like of POC instances and also control them better, their start date, their end date. So that makes the POC process much more efficient and friendlier.
And my Tech Spidey sensors also revealed some quite exciting news around CloudShare recently. But for anyone that missed that, can you just tell me a little bit more about how CloudShare recently announced the availability of a sales enablement solution, and also how that promises to help speed funnel velocity for software companies out there, for anyone that could be listening?
Oh, yeah. So that's really exciting indeed. What we've done is in CloudShare is we've taken the POC process one step further towards the sale. So first, using a simple UI or directly even from your Salesforce application, you can create as many POCs instances as you like, really with a click of a button, and we have them all configured and ready to use for you. Then secondly, as I already mentioned before, using these virtual lab capabilities, you can easily control the start date, end date, and even the number of hours that the POC runs. But that's not it. The most exciting news is that we really have and bringing here a true innovation in the fact that we open the POC black box. So in the past, you basically installed the POC or provided a link to a POC, but you didn't really know what the customer was doing, whether they're really, excited about the product, whether they're trying it out, whether they've even, opened the link. But now we're really opening this, what we call a black box. So we allow tracking each and every POC, and you can see with easy graphs what the engagement level really is with all kinds of measurements we provide. The prospect tried out your product, how long, and even you can find areas with less engagement than you actually expected. You can also track the entire opportunity, not just the individual POCs, and see the overall engagement rate, which is unique. And as far as I know, we're the only ones providing this kind of package and this kind of visibility. Using our POC tracking process, you really are informed. And the important thing, you know when to pick up the phone and call your prospect. Now, this can also definitely increase your velocity since, you can manage many more POC processes in parallel and then make informed decisions faster about each of them. So productivity definitely goes up as well. And we're really excited about that in CloudShare.
Now, before you came on the show today, I did do a little bit of research, and that means stalking your LinkedIn and Twitter feeds, etc. And I also learned that CloudShare is extending its virtual IT lab solutions to the Google Cloud platform too. Can you tell me more about that and ultimately what it means for your customers?
What we've identified that in addition to existing on-premise architectures, there's definitely a market trend to offer products also on the different commodity clouds. We've seen that, as a market trend, but we also see this with our own customers going that direction. And our vision is actually, to address that and to add the same functionality and capabilities that we now offer. We now offer that to on-prem solutions, but we also want to offer that on top of the commodity clouds for our customers and prospects that are moving from on-prem to commodity clouds. And that, of course, includes also our sales enablement solution and the benefits that we just discussed a minute ago. We're now offering this integration with Google Cloud Platform, and the other clouds will follow shortly.
Fantastic. And looking further into the future, I appreciate there's probably not too much that you can share, but you might be able to reveal a few teasers. What's next for CloudShare? Is there anything else you can share with us today?
Sure. So really just as hints and raising curiosity here. So first, we have lined up even more capabilities for sales enablement around tracking, management, governance of the process, and more visibility into your POCs. And as I mentioned, we're coming to the commodity clouds. We're going to provide really awesome functionality and many, many capabilities on top of the leading clouds, GCP, Azure, and AWS. That's really just a glimpse of what's expected in the future.
Fantastic. I'm sure you've raised more than a little curiosity among everyone listening. And if anyone listening are left with any additional questions, what's the best way of finding you guys online and contacting your team?
So definitely, I'll be glad to dive deeper into each of the topics we just discussed. You can reach me by my email. That's Michal, Michal, @cloudshare.com. You can find me on LinkedIn and, of course, our website. Go to that, look at all the details we have there, schedule a demo, schedule a call with our representatives. We'll be glad to talk further.
Excellent. Well, I cannot thank you enough for coming on today. And, just showcasing prospects and customers the value of software and handing the keys over to your software is so important. It's a lot of topics we discussed today we just don't talk about enough. So a big thank you for coming on and joining me today.
Thank you, Neil. That was a pleasure.
Today's guest was a whole heap of fun. If you would like a peek at what goes on behind the curtain, I'm afraid there are no outtakes, but I did have a plumber called mid-interview and I had to be the guy that said, sorry, but I need to take this call. So if you are listening, thank you so much for your patience when we recorded this. And thankfully, at the end of the day, the plumber fixed my plumbing problem and we recorded a great podcast episode. But what I love about CloudShare is not just the deep understanding of the complex work environments in the cloud, but also how they make it easy for their clients to use. And when you throw in things like flexible sales enablement to also reduce sales friction and illuminate buyer journeys and empower teams with advanced analytics, it seems to me that they have something quite unique on their hands there at CloudShare. But over to you listening. If this is your area of expertise, there is an open invite for you to come on this show and talk about it. Or if you'd sooner send me a brief comment that I can read out on the podcast. Whatever it is that you want to do, don't worry, I've got you covered. So email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com. You can DM me on Twitter or LinkedIn. Just look at Neil C. Hughes. Or visit my website, techblogwriter.co.uk. Now, I'll return same time, same place tomorrow, so have a great day. And until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thanks for listening to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Until next time, remember, technology is best when it brings people together.